I am just a scribe, a chronicler of truths that have been, well, forgotten. What I'm about to share with you isn't a history of kings or empires, not of battles won with sword and shield. No, this is the story of a much greater, unseen war, one that's fought with the very threads of reality. So let's open this forbidden text together.
This right here, this is the fundamental, terrifying law of our entire existence. It's the truth whispered in the ink of this very chronicle, a truth that, I promise you, changes everything you thought you knew about the world, and your place in it.
So, let's start with the first big revelation. The real forces shaping our world, they aren't from around here. They are masters of a weapon that is so much more powerful than any sword. They're masters of language.
I want you to imagine for a second that every choice you think you make, every path you walk down, is actually being guided by some unseen hand. And I'm not talking about fate. I'm talking about the voice of a sovereign power. Beings, some divine, some not so divine, they use eloquence, poetry, and argument as their main tools, shaping our world from a distance. And this is their weapon of choice. They call it the word. It is the very heart of their power. With it, they can literally govern the hearts and minds of mortals, blurring the line between belief and fact, between imagination and reality. It's the ultimate tool of creation. And, of course, control.
Our chronicle first turns toward the divine, to that ancient weaver of fates whose verses still echo through the halls of time.
We know him as Wotan, the Allfather, the god of poetry and sacred runes. His power is ancient, rooted in knowledge itself. He's the one who famously stole the meat of poetry, not just for himself, but to gift the power of expression to mankind, a gift that, shall we say, came with some unseen strings attached.
So, how does he pull it off? Well, his main tool is that divine mead, the source of eloquence. But his method is the mastery of sacred runes, which he uses to basically bind the universe to his will. The real genius, though, is his tactic. He hides what he's really doing behind these beautiful, sweeping, epic poems. Heroes think they're following their destiny, but really, they're just actors on a stage he built with his words. And you have to understand, the sheer scale of his power is immense. He doesn't just nudge events along, he literally creates the landscape of the entire saga. He writes the story, and we mortals, we get so captivated by its beauty that we just live it out, never realizing we're just characters in his divine poem. But for every divine verse, there is an infernal contract. The chronicle now turns to the shadows, to the architect of ambition who finds power not in inspiration but in twisting logic until it breaks.
Mephistopheles is a different kind of master entirely. He's no god of poetry, he is a master rhetorician, a trickster who loves to dance on the very edge of logic and reason. He's not some brute force of evil, but a razor-sharp intellect, a true master of wit and wordplay.
His method is so procedural, it's almost clinical. First, he hits you with sophistry, clever arguments that sound perfectly logical but are built on a lie. Then he lures in the ambitious types, people like Faust, with contracts that seem to offer them the world. But these contracts are traps. They're designed to confuse you, to snare you in your own words, until your greatest desires become the very engine of your own destruction. And this gets to the absolute core of his philosophy, as I've recorded it in these pages. He proves that the most inescapable prison isn't made of stone walls, but from a person's own agreement. A perfectly twisted sentence can bind a soul tighter than any physical chain ever could. So, on one hand we have the poet god, and on the other, the logician demon. You'd think they were complete opposites, right? Well, as we're about to see, their ultimate goals and their shared talent for deception are frighteningly similar. When you lay their methods out side by side like this, the contrast is pretty stark. Wotan's world is poetry and prophecy, using verse to inspire. Mephistopheles works with logic and law, using contracts to deceive. One wants to guide and shape your destiny, the other, well, he wants to trap and ensnare your soul.
But look closer. Even though their methods are worlds apart, the foundation of their power is exactly the same. Eloquence is just a mask for both of them. It lets them operate in our world, lets them pull our strings, all while staying completely separate from it. They control how we see reality, without ever having to get their hands dirty.
And this brings us to the final, chilling conclusion of this chronicle. What does this cosmic war of words actually mean for us, the mortals who are just caught in the middle? What's our role in this whole grand design?
Think about it. Think of the grandest stories of heroism you've ever heard, the tales of sacrifice and destiny that give our lives meaning.
And now, think of all the clever bargains, all the logical little traps we set for ourselves when we're chasing ambition or knowledge.
Inspiration, temptation. In the end, does it really matter? The outcome is the same. Our fate, the one we believe is our own, is simply redirected by their will, another thread woven into the tapestry they're creating.
And there it is, the scribe's final devastating realization. The source of this entire chronicle, whether it was a god or a demon, admits it right there in plain sight. Our history isn't the sum of our actions. It's the product of their words.
And so, I have to leave you with the same question that haunts me as I write these final words. In this vast, cosmic story crafted by these incredible rhetorical powers, what control do we really have? Are we actually the authors of our own lives, or are we just a parchment they're writing on?